Greetings, here we are with another delightful video. This time it's going to be slightly out of order. This just came in and I figured, hey, I might as well talk about this. It is something different from the regular malaise. I'm trying to avoid too many modern games for the month of January and February. But anyways, this is 101 Sarmations, which is an expansion book to Baptism of Fire, which is a big chunk of book, which is an all-in-one book, both for player usage as well as game master. This contains both the player's handbook, the game master guide, and the monster manual. And this is an updated expansion variant version of Lion and Dragon, which is also the same thing but just not quite as chonky. It's important to note that Lion and Dragon is set in a later era of history, and during I do believe the War of the Roses specifically. And this setting is a little bit closer to more modern era as far as history goes, and it's more of the basic framework that goes into Baptisms of Fire, which basically goes backwards in time, goes to an earlier era in which Christianity is starting to expand into Poland, and then there's conflicts between the pagans and the Christians, as well as the conversions and the early saints and so forth. This book series system is basically medieval authentic RPG, as you see it right there. And what Casimir Yabrinsky means by that, or the RPG pundit, is that this TTRPG system, by the way, you do not need Lion and Dragon to use Baptism of Fire. Baptism of Fire is its own standalone system. However, you can go back and you combine stuff from both books because they're 100% compatible between each other. So there you go. But you do need Baptisms of Fire for 101 Sarmations if you want to use it in the setting that's set up for. However, there's many things in here because this is a true OSR product that you can actually use this in other tabletop role-playing games based on the same tabletop role-playing game engine as before. Baptism of Fire and Lion and Dragon is built upon the b.e.c.m.i or b.e.c.m.i system foundation of Dungeons and Dragons. There is an exceedingly important notation about tabletop role-playing games, specifically of the OSR variety. In order for something to be truly OSR, to be authentically OSR, it has to be backwards or horizontally compatible with other OSR games of the same family type, or the original system in which the OSR game is built upon. So if you were playing basic Dungeons & Dragons, or BX or b.e.c.m.i Dungeons & Dragons, you can easily take, say, an adventure that was originally produced for b.e.c.m.i Dungeons & Dragons, or Basic, Expert, Companion, Master, and Immortal sets, and you can run those adventures with this system. Now, there's various grades or type generations of OSR games, such as Type 1 or First Wave, Type 2, Second Wave, Type 3, Third Wave. First Wave OSR products are essentially just straight-on clones of an original system. Say, like, a good example is, say, a more modern example for more modern players to understand is Pathfinder First Edition. It is more of a straight-on clone of Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 with a few tweaks here and there for ease of play. And you could take anything from Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 and use it with Pathfinder First Edition. Something similar with, say, For Gold and Glory for and Dungeons and Dragons Advanced 2nd Edition. You can take Gold and Glory, and you can play it perfectly fine. But if you have, say, like an adventure from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition, anywhere in its history, you can take those adventures, the campaign settings, and use the 4 Gold for Glory system with that. So that is the core fundamental truth of all OSR products, is that they are true OSR products are backwards compatible with whatever TTRPG system, old system, that they are based off of. The same thing with Baptism of Fire. You can use Baptism of Fire with your BX systems. You can combine and use Baptism of Fire with Lamentations of the Flame Princess, because Baptism of Fire is built off of Lion and Dragon, which is Lion Dragon is built off of Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and Lamentations of the Flame Princess is built off of BX. So they all retain the same core feature. However, if you remember my earlier explanation, there is 1st, 2nd, and 3rd generation. 1st generation, or first wave, or type 1, is straight up clone. Type 2 is a expanded out, modified variant of it, which means that it might have, say, modern variant rules for the system. So instead of having descending armor class like with with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition with THAC0, 2nd generation or Type 2 OSR product will have that system in it. However, there will be an alternative system in it for ascending armor classes. There may be new features added into the 2nd generation or Type 2 OSR product. In the case of Type 3 OSR products, the core fundamental structure still remains the same, and it may even have the variant rules between descending and descending armor class and so forth, using Dungeons and Dragons as an example. However, it will oftentimes have a complete replacement system for it, such as in the Baptism of Fire and Lion and Dragon have a variant magic system in it that is fundamentally based upon historical beliefs of the peoples of the time that the books are based upon. So when Baptism of Fire is the time period in which Baptism of Fire is based on, which is the period in which Christianity moves into pagan Poland and starts to take over, expand into Poland and displace the pagans. The magic system is fundamentally based upon the people of that time's belief of how magic works, fundamentally. And same thing with Lion and Dragon with its era. So it replaces the spell slot system with its own variant of magic system, and it fundamentally also addendums in a ritual casting system as well as alchemy system and so many other things. This is practically an entire tabletop role-playing game system, some all-in-one. So you truly don't really need expansions. However, the expansions, such as like Lamentations of the Flame Princess or the Silk Road for Sword and Caravan, will add a whole bunch of extra stuff to your game. As we open this up, we get classic medieval appropriate artwork in the book as well. A very nice, clean table of contents as well as credits, with everything clearly written out, no excessive clutter. The table of contents is nice, is very broadly spaced out and clean. It gives you the introduction as well as each important chapter and appendix in the book, and all the subsections within those chapters and indexes. And it maintains the same general art style throughout the entire book. Very nice in feel of era adornments across the pages, appropriate lettering style, appropriate artwork, but modern writing with a very strong focus on the historical accuracy, or at least the attention to maintaining the theme of the era without becoming overly complicated to read. As you can see here, we got the classic knight fighting snail situation, or looks to be dog or bunny person or animal people talking about something. Those funny medieval artworks. So as you can see here, you have a section on running noble campaigns. So if you happen to be wanting to run a campaign consisting of nobles, you can do so. You are given advice for that. You're also given a little bit of history and important information about each major noble house in Poland at the time, and including important stats that are valued for various individuals of that house, because each house sort of embodies its own ethos or belief in what defines them as people. So there you go. You have nice crests right here for each noble house. Monkeys drinking alcohol, getting crazy drunk, and so forth. So you have a very nice range of political intrigue options for your campaign if you choose to pick this book up, allowing you to easily weave in various noble houses. And this gives you a very nice starting point for a noble campaign. But also, if you are just commoners and you're doing jobs for various noble houses, this is also exceedingly handful, as it fills out the role of the noble house, the culture of it, and what the general theme and feel of that, of the idealized individual of that noble house. Even give you some important people as well. So there you go. You got noble campaign resources such as noble house officers. So you have important roles such as a sword bearer or a commander or a treasurer or a castellan, a commander of the guard, a secretaries, and all the other important roles in the house, such as you got a priest, and you got important skills as it relates to the nobles in the house as well. Information on hunting and riding and sport and walking and so many other things. You also have a section on noble cults as well, and political cults and prisoner cults and ladies cult. Oh, there's a lot of cults, even including women having cults, and so forth. And all kinds of important information about other fun stuff. You also have important little section on saints, this is Appendix 1. Icons and relics of the saints of the era. So if you are of great interest of wanting magical items or potions or any other thing like that that ties into specific saints from that era, this is the resource for that. You also have, I think I skipped something. You also have new classes in this book as well that are specifically intended for, I think I skipped past them by accident, that are specifically for, this is right here. You have the courtier class, and you have the priest class for Lion and Dragon. And these are primarily intended to be NPC classes. However, it still has the benefits, the D10 benefits table for both the courtier as well as the priest. So when you level, if you choose to, as a player, to, and your game master allows it, for you to play the priest class or the courtier class, you can do so. And you can roll off the table. You also have very nice maps that are fairly historically accurate, that even tie in various important myths and legends for each region, appropriately named in Poland for the time period. And then you have a greater map that even denotes what's the cities, towns, villages, a fort, pagan sites, regional borders, Polish border, and trade routes within the entire town, in the entire nation of Poland, or the medieval Poland in the 11th century, north, south, east, west compass. And then in the very back you have a blank section right here, and then you have the back of the cover. I do believe that this was not terribly expensive when I bought it. It appears to be a very handy addition if you specifically want to expand into more noble areas with baptism of fire. So that is quite nice in itself. The fact that it's named 101 Sarmations is based on the fact that Polish nobles believed their lineage actually goes back to the Sarmatians, which is a group of riding warriors. So there you go. Personally, I feel that this book is quite useful, specifically for a game master, not so much for a player. The only thing that's truly of value in this book is the two classes in the back of the book for baptism of fire. And all your game master has to do is take his photocopier and photocopy that sheet off and hand it to you to play those classes. If you are allowed to play those classes in your baptism of fire campaign. So there you go. Other than that, I do feel that this is not an entirely necessary product for baptism of fire, but if you are truly an individual who specifically wants to play in 11th century Poland, and you want as much information as possible specifically for baptism of fire, that way you can have the opportunity of researching it and expanding forward from there to have the biggest, best campaign you can have. This is definitely a solid buy right off the bat. It's way better than, say, buying 100 ancient Polish history books and then having to read through them entirely and then have to invent mechanics around them, specifically for baptisms of fire. This is a solid starting point. I would go with buying this first, then those books, the history books. That way you have an easy bridge. So there you go. I would say this is a 3.25 for players to buy. It's a solid read. There's good information in it if you really want to read extra information on the era of 11th century Poland. For Game Masters, this is a pretty solid 4-star. It's cheap on Amazon. You get a ton of information specifically around the nobles and the saints of the era for 11th century Poland, as well as you get 2 new classes that you can dangle in front of your players. Here you go, you want to play these kind of things, or have them be in your campaign as either a part of a rival party or something else. So if you enjoy this, please leave a like and subscribe on the channel. And if you enjoy this style of video over the top-down page-through style video, please leave a like on this. Please tell me in the comments specifically below. If you like this video, please leave a like on it. If you dislike it, please leave a dislike. I appreciate your feedback in all its forms, as long as I have some kind of basis as to know what your feedback is specifically about. That is always handy dandy. I do say, if you are interested in the OSR and you want to have a really good OSR product, go ahead and check out my video on Baptism of Fire, and check it out. This may be the system for you. My only gripe, really, with Baptism of Fire is that it's a chonky book, and I'm the kind of person who likes to have my books, my Game Master book, separated from my player book, so that way the players have a thinner book to carry around, and I have a thinner book myself. But it's still inside that 400-page mark. Baptism of Fire specifically has 375 pages in it. Once you start getting past that 400 range mark, or it starts getting to be a hefty case, is hauling around. Particularly if you go with the hard covers. So, which is nice about 101 Sarmations, as it's a still fairly thin book, but it's still loaded with useful information on the era, as well as mechanics and new items to use with your players, as well as classes and so forth, and maps. So, thank you very much for watching. Have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful week, and a magnificent month, and see you next time. Ciao.